own words, like what do you do, man? What's your whole thing?
My whole thing? Well, I've recently just done a really adult thing and given my email a tagline. So my email tagline now says, like, many thanks, Beth Black, and then it says musician, stroke, feminist, stroke, advocate, which feels very like, yeah, man, there you go, there's my deal. But yeah, it's a bit big-headed actually, but I'm going for it. It makes me feel professional. But yeah, I guess my deal is mostly trying to make music more inclusive, mostly for young people with disabilities, but also with young women. I do a bit of like getting girls into punk.
Nice. So is that through girls rock that you do it? Yeah. So,
a bit of girls rock, a bit of Swim as well, the Scottish Women Inventing Music, which are quite a new collective. They're doing a thing called Girlpool, which has just launched. Cool. So it's cool. It's really good.
So what are those things?
So Girls Rock is a summer, it's actually not happening this year, which is a shame, but it's been running for I think about 5 years, maybe longer, and it's a summer project where they have a team of volunteers who are all music or artists in some way, and they get young kids between the age of 8 and 16 in for summer and just throw them instruments and just say, go wild, write a song, and they do a big showcase at the end of the year. It's quite often in the art school, which is quite good fun. And it's great. These kids just like, especially the young ones, don't really know how to play guitar. You just give them a guitar and teach them a couple of chords and they come up with these incredible songs. It's so good. And then the Swim Girlpool's the same sort of thing, but they're going to try and set it up so that it's on a more sort of recurring basis. I think it's going to happen monthly and it'll be a bit more structured, and they've got sort of more industry folk in on it and stuff. So it's cool projects.
It sounds really cool, man. And like, so I think one of the things that like I've seen that you said on like a wee interview thing is like, allow me to check my notes here. Yeah, so it says, sometimes I feel like I'm the only person in the world offering music lessons to children with additional support needs in the same capacity I received as a kid. So I think that last wee bit of like in the same capacity I received as a kid, it's really it's an interesting phrase, and it kind of captures you a bit off guard. And I was wondering if you wanted to like open out a wee bit more what that means, like.
Yeah, totally. That's such a good question. So I think, so I do part of my work, I go to kids' houses and give one-to-one music tuition. I work with 2 girls who've got Down syndrome and a couple other kids with disabilities, and I try to make it as much like your sort of like typical one-to-one lessons as possible, because it doesn't really feel like anybody's doing that outside of sort of, I almost said institutionalised, but that's not the right word, but do you know, like, this is a music activity for kids with disabilities, whereas for the guys that I work with, I really want it to just be like, this is just a music lesson, the same way as like I had clarinet teachers come into my house when I was a kid, or I went to piano lessons. And for the kids that I work with, it's not always like, we're not working towards exams, or we're not, a couple of them are sort of getting quite sort of standard, like we're going to learn C major today, or we're going to learn this chord today, but some of the other stuff is just like big elaborate, almost like play therapy through music. Or like I worked with a girl, we spent pretty much a year just bashing on the keyboard, and she can now play a C major scale, but it took us a while to get there. Just trying to make it more like, I'm a big advocate for mainstreaming things, of just to try and make everything as, so that everybody gets the same opportunity for everything. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if we don't get to grade 5 ever, but just that they have that opportunity, and sort of trying to step away from this is a disabled activity, or this is a music activity for disabled kids. It's just a music activity. Yeah,
so I guess, have you been doing that for a while now? Have you noticed, I guess, have you worked at either end? Have you done workshops and lessons that are specifically for kind of people or children with additional support needs? And then how does that compare, do you feel? What do you think is your motivation to kind of change that?
Yeah, well, I've been doing it for about 5 years now, which is quite a long time. And I think just the more and more I do it, the more I see the importance of it, of just like, for the same for anyone, of if you have an instrument or if you choose to do music and that's like your purpose, then it doesn't change if you're a person with a disability, that you don't need that like purpose for things. One of the projects that I'm part of is a band called The Fridays through a charity called Musical, which is just the best project ever. So we've got a rock band and it's made up of 6, I almost said children, but actually they're all in their early 20s now. In fact, a couple of them are ages with me, a bit older. But so there's 4 music tutors and then 6 young people with learning disabilities, and they're all blind, all visually impaired as well. And we go about and we do gigs. They've played in Celtic Park. Didn't mind it, Central Park. They've played in Celtic Park, and we've played in the Hilton Hotel, and we play in Central Station quite a lot and things, and we just do gigs. We're just all in a band together. It's not like, well, I'm the tutor and you're just the person who's blind or whatever. Yeah. But it's really amazing because I've been in that band for 5 years now. It's really incredible seeing the change of the kids, of the young people over the time. There was a girl who, when I started, she never ever spoke, and now she comes into band practice and she's like, "Hi Beth, how you doing? Can I get a cup of tea?" And it's just like the same. I see a lot of comparisons with me when I joined Slow Light, because I didn't really know anyone in that band and I was a bit like, whereas now we're all best pals, and it's just the same sort of transition of like growing up and finding your place and being like, yeah, I'm a singer in a band, that's who I am. And one of the quotes from the drummer's parents just sticks with me all the time, is that he tells people when he left school, he was like, oh, I'm the drummer in a band, whereas a lot of his peers have just gone into like day centres or into care, and they're sort of stripped of that, like, oh, this is what my deal is, this is who I am. They're kind of just like, oh, I just go to Sense every day, or I just go and receive support every day. And it really gives him that, like, this is who I am, this is and that's more important than being a good drummer or being top of your game or reaching grade 8 or whatever. It's just that thing of like, oh, I'm a keyboard player, or I'm a singer in a band, or that kind of thing. Yeah,
so you're kind of, I guess it sounds like you're kind of seeing that similarity in that everyone like just wants to have an identity, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
And like it that opportunity to have an identity shouldn't be limited, I guess. And it's really interesting. Sorry to interrupt you there, but it's interesting what you're saying about kind of how you're viewed, I guess, like your role's viewed, because like from what you're saying, it seems like you're not getting viewed necessarily as like a tutor or like a therapist or like, you know, anything like that, which does feel like a market, is that the word? Difference.
Yeah, totally. It feels more like just a peer. And I think it really helps when you're teaching someone. And I think this too for like mainstream stuff that I've done, of just like, if you strut in like, I'm the teacher, today we're going to learn, everyone kind of goes, oh God, right, okay, we're going to learn. Whereas I've always found that if you just go in like, let's make some music together, it's a really good leveler. I think music specifically, I'm sure other forms of art are the same, but one of the things that music hall really bases their whole plan on is that allowing people to access music wherever suits them. So they used to have a samba band, and that works really, really well, because if you're able to, you can be doing the really complex rhythms, and if you're not able to or you don't want to, you can just be like bashing out the beat, and it's so loud that if somebody's just going, it doesn't matter, because it's so like everyone can just be part of that and contribute to it. And it really, I don't know, I think I've always really struggled with learning from people who are like, I'm going to teach you this thing.
Yeah.
I think it's much nicer to just be like, let's all learn all this stuff together. And I've definitely learned. I'm definitely a much better musician now than I was 5 years ago. In fact, when I started working, I didn't even play the bass.
Yeah.
And now I'm a bassist, and that's definitely my identity. So it's been as much fun for me, it's been as good for me as it has been for the kids I work with.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily always like a straight music path, I guess. Like it feels like you kind of, your identity kind of changes don't really know what I'm trying to say actually, but just through the people you work with, you take stuff, I guess.
Totally.
Yeah, so maybe if you give a bit more of background about your kind of journey with music then.
Yeah. Cool. I've got a funny journey with music because I was trained as a classical clarinetist for years, and then I went to Aberdeen University and studied the performance course there and hated it. Hated every minute of it. It was very much like, don't make music with other people, go into this room and learn your scales and be the top of your game, and it was not who I was at all. Excuse me. And then I got halfway through second year and a few things happened at once. They just launched a community music course. I was like, that is exactly what I want to do. That's where I need to be. And also, this is totally ridiculous, but that was the year that the Military Wife's Choir was number one. And I don't know if you were aware of the Military Wife's Choir or you watched it on telly. It's like Gareth Malone, who's the big face of community music, set up a bunch of choirs with military wives. And there was a TV series that followed their journey, and it was all about how none of them felt like they were musicians, and they were able to overcome this the really upsetting parts of their life about being military wives, and it was because of music. And I was like, that's what I want to bring that to other people. I really want to do that. So those two things made me go, I really don't want to be a classical performer anymore. I really hate this. I hate all the stringent rules, and I got marked down on my final performance for not being dressed correctly. And I was just like, I can't do it. I can't follow any of these rules. So I dropped out and went to college, and then college was all about forming bands and just finding your own way. And so I ended up going back to uni after going to college, but with this new mindset of, I'm not in it for being the best anymore. I'm just in it for making music with my pals. I think that really shaped how I feel about all the work that I do now, because I know how much that how much feeling like I didn't fit into the box at uni as a classical performer made me feel, and then how much just kind of bashing about on a guitar made me feel like I fitted into a box. It's I really want that to exist for everyone and not just for the musicians.
Yeah, for sure.
I think music's very, or can be very like that. I think for outsiders it's very much we're not welcome here. I'm not good enough to be here.
Yeah.
And I kind of I'm not into that. I'm kind of trying to break down those barriers.
I think, yeah, and I think things are changing as well, because I teach at music school, and the videos are mainly for this, so if you're watching for homework, then hello. I find that when you speak to the kids at the start, they're pretty open to being yeah, we can do this. You can get them to write a song and they'll do it and stuff. But I feel a lot of times when you speak to parents, they're oh no, they tried some lessons back in the day and they're we're traumatized by them. And then I think a lot of times it's sometimes a bit difficult to get across to parents, especially with younger kids. It's don't expect them to be coming home and practicing every day or something like that. It's that's not what it's necessarily about. I feel it's a long thing of creating a safe space that's and then they start to get something, they see value in it, it starts to click and stuff. But I think, well, hopefully, I think I was really lucky. My guitar teacher, Steph, when I was growing up, was just really sound, and he just let me record songs at his house and stuff like that, and which is really good.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I don't feel like I ever stepped into the world of writing songs until I was a fully blown adult. It was always just learn your scales, learn this song that some Victorian man has written in the past. Mm-hmm. So it's quite refreshing to just, especially in the work I do now, because when we write songs at work, they're always just bonkers. They're so good.
Yeah.
I love it when you're what are we going to write a song about today? And it's we're going to write a song about pirate trains. Great, love it, let's do it. Whereas 10 years ago, if someone had said that to me, I'd be no, we're not. That's not what you write songs about.
That's a solid. There's a solid song in that. There's a lot of like untapped material there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. What else was I've got a couple other things here. So you started a women's choir. Is it Bad Gals Community Choir?
The Bad Girls Singing Club.
Singing Club, sorry.
Which I'm a bit worried that the name maybe puts people off.
Right.
I'm a bit worried that either male... So the idea of it is it's a feminist choir.
Okay.
But I'm very open to there being male feminists in it. There currently aren't. But I do wonder if people read Bad Girls Singing Club and either think, oh, I'm not a gal, or they are female and they think, oh, but I'm not a bad gal. I think that might make people up. But yeah, I started that probably about a year ago. And it was more of a, like, not a political move, because it's not really a political thing, but just, I didn't really start it from a music point of view. I didn't think, oh, I want to start this for musical reasons, but I really like the podcast, Guilty Feminist podcast, right. Which is started by a female comedian called Deborah Frances White, and it's just brilliant. It's been going for ages now, and they do episodes on like everything, but there was an episode on women in classical music, and somebody on it made a throwaway comment about there needing to be a feminist choir. I was like, oh yeah, there should be a feminist choir. Oh, I could start a feminist choir. I have the tools to do that. So I did, and it, like, people were quite interested in it, so we started it, and then, but it's kind of lulled a bit, and then we took a break over Christmas, and now that we're all stuck in the house again, we're back. We're doing it online. But yeah, I mostly started it because I wanted some more feminist pals, and I wanted to open a space for all those parents who are scared of music and say, oh no, I'm not a musician, I can't sing. It's like, well, that's not what my choir is about. It's about singing angry feminist songs, or sad feminist songs sometimes. So yeah, it's good fun.
Fair enough, man. Yeah, I think it's like that shared kind of thing as well. Like, it's such a good thing about music where you can be into something and then there's like 100 other people that are into that same thing, like super specific. Yeah. And then, so you are a shouty bassist, I've heard.
I'm a shouty bassist.
What does that, how does that manifest?
It manifested first through the first band I was in called Slow Light. They didn't have a bassist, and the drummer Stephen is a pal of mine and had seen me complaining on the internet about how much I wanted to play bass and sing harmonies in a band, and at the time I didn't play bass, it was just a pure pipe dream. Stephen was like, oh, I see you want to play bass, we need a bassist. And I was like, that's good. Not actually a bassist, but I have a bass, which is almost the same. Yeah. So then my bass career was born, and So Light have been a band for 5 years now, and we're still going. And then I've joined various other bands, some of which are still going and some of which are not going. But I always try to have at least one shouty song in every band that I'm in, because I like a good shout. I think there's something really cathartic about a good shout on stage.
Yeah, fair enough, man.
I quite like being small and unassuming looking and then shouting in front of audiences as well.
Yeah.
I feel like people go, oh, she's shouting. That feels quite good too.
That's fair enough, man. How does it feel? Does it feel powerful, or what does it feel?
Oh, it feels so powerful. Although once you get used to it, I remember the first time we did it, I was like, my shout was a bit like, I was like a bit scared of it. Whereas now, just like, it's just so cathartic to play loud music on stage and to jump about a lot. Recently, so the newest band that I'm in, a band called 10am, which is a pop punk band, that actually started, I did an Impact Arts project last summer, and we spent all summer playing pop punk with the kids on that project.
Oh, Impact Arts, shout out, by the way, yeah.
Yeah,
woohoo! Really good work for them.
Yeah, it was such a good project, it was so fun. And so me and the two other music tutors ended up really quite good friends. And I was like, we should start a pop punk band. There's no girls in pop punk bands.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's a few singers, but there's very, very few like guitarists and bassists in pop punk. And I was like, I think it might be time for a pop punk revival.
Yeah.
So I started a pop punk band, and it's ridiculous. But Hugh, who's our drummer, had a wireless pack for his guitar, so I've borrowed his wireless pack, which just means I can go and run around and shout and jump around, and it's the best. That's the worst thing about lockdown, is that I'm not getting that cathartic release of jumping around a stage and screaming. It's hard work.
That sucks, man. Yeah, it really does. Like, I kind of, like, I'm kicking myself for not going to, like, anywhere near enough gigs, like, when I could. I mean, I will be able to again. And hopefully...
Yeah, God, I hope it's not over forever.
Before the chance was taken from me. Yeah, man. So, I feel like I could talk for a good while, but what I wanted to do, and then obviously add anything like, but I thought I'd maybe take it back to what we were talking about initially, and so I think I just mind that same article what you were talking about. You were saying you were teaching a young girl. I guess it's okay to say her name. I don't know if that was because it's in the Cara.
Yeah.
And you said something really poignant. I feel like where was it the mum maybe was saying like, oh, if she could, she would study music. I guess what I'm interested in is, do you think that is possible to get done, and how would you go about helping that, facilitating that, to have someone study music?
This is my big plan. A big plan for this year is to try and get some inclusive college education on the go. Mostly, not purposely for Cara, but definitely through the work that I've worked with Cara and things.
And maybe a bit of background about Cara, actually, because I realised I've just said a random name.
Yeah, that's true.
Assumed people knew.
Yeah, you'd have to set people homework to read the interview first. Yeah, so Cara is a girl who I met. I used to work for Sound Scotland doing some music, and she used to come from her school. And Cara's quite complexly disabled. She doesn't have any verbal communication, and she's a wheelchair user, but she just loves music. It's just like, she absolutely comes alive because she quite often, if she's not interested in something, she'll be sat with her head down, and then you give her a tambourine and she's like, yes, I'm here, I'm for it. There's no doubt, there's like no way you could say that Cara doesn't like music. If you met her for 2 minutes, she'd be like, that girl's a musician.
Yeah.
Her favourite song is Highway to Hell by AC/DC. She's a proper rock chick. So yeah, and I've now worked with Cara. She's left school and I kind of do a little bit of support work with her, but it's like sort of musical support work, so we go and try and do as much musical things as we can, but there's just not really that much for her to do because she's so complexly disabled. I think she's overlooked quite a lot in sort of opportunities, but what's really interesting about Cara, and I'm sure her mum and her sister won't mind me talking about it, is that her younger sister is just a year younger than her, and so the whole way through their life you can really see the differences in like the schooling or the opportunities at school that Cara had and the opportunities her sister had. Her sister's now studying medicine at university, and like her mum said, Cara would absolutely be studying music if there was a place for her to do that, but there just isn't. It doesn't exist at all. There's no further education, like music specific courses for folk with additional support needs. There is, some colleges do little music units as part of their like learner development courses, but there's nothing for like Cara and all of Cara's peers if they wanted to study music. It's just not, it doesn't exist. So this year's big plan. is to go and change that. And I've come up with an idea. I've written a course and I've spoken to a college lecturer who thinks it's a good idea and thinks it's doable. And the way it would work is just, and actually the whole idea of it is based on what I was saying earlier about how much your peers or being around your peers just sort of shapes who you are and shapes what music you like and shapes how good you are at music. So I think it's really important to, because there are quite a lot of sort of disability specific music activities, but there's nothing that would allow people who need support for learning to learn alongside mainstream college kids, or college students. So the idea is that everybody's in the same class and they're all doing the same lessons, but then the people who are able to do an NC or an HNC do that, and the people who need a little bit of extra support do the same classes but different exams, and then you have a full course where everybody gets a certificate at the end, but it like works at their own level. And then you get lots of excellent bonuses off of that, of the mainstream classes who might have never met somebody with a disability gets to learn all of the things that they have to bring, and then the folk who need a bit of learning support get to if you've been in school or college, you know how much you learn off of your pals. It's the same for everyone. So
it sounds
as well as
idea, man.
I'm pumped about it. So I hope it takes off. I'm going to do it. I've just accepted a place on a master's course, so I'm going to kind of do it, kind of pilot it as a master's project.
Right.
Give a bit of a safety blanket and a bit of student loan to help me through it.
Nice, man. Yeah, that makes sense. Brilliant.
Yeah,
oh man.
So hopefully that'll happen.
Yeah. Cool. Well, you have to keep me updated.
Absolutely.
So a couple of things. One was maybe what kind of music recommendations would you give to people listening to this? What do you love? What do you reckon people should listen to? Oh,
cool. I get really embarrassed at this question because I'm really, really into Midwest emo and sort of lots of sad tunes. My favourite band of all time is a band called Tiger's Jaw, because they were the first band that I heard their music and I liked it, and there was a woman in it. I was like, there's a girl making music that I like the sound of. So Tiger's Jaw, and a band called Diet Sig, also good female musicians. Band called Camp Cope as well.
Cool.
That would be my 3 female inclusive music suggestions.
That's good.
Sweet.
That's pretty much everything I was wanting to ask, I think. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I don't think so. Just thank you for letting me talk about the things that I like talking about.
That's okay, man. It was really, really, really interesting. And it's been a total pleasure, man.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Okay, this is a song that I've written for my Isolation EP. I had been threatening to write a solo EP for ages, and I never had any time, and now the whole world's gone into lockdown and I've had time to write songs. So I've released an EP under the band name Flinch, and this song is currently called Track 4. It's not been released to the public yet.